Today's bake is a crostata, also known as a galette. It's similar to a fruit pie, but with half the work, half the baking time, and half the sugar. It's a simple way to showcase seasonal fruit. First, make enough of your favorite pie crust for one pie. This is mine. I start with 1 cup of flour. It's okay to use a blend of up to 1/3 whole wheat flour. And then to that, I add 1/3 cup of solid fat. I prefer to use shortening or lard, but butter will work too, although it does have a slightly different characteristic because it's partly moisture. And half a teaspoon of salt. Yes, I've spent time training myself what this looks like in my hand because it's so convenient when you're on the road to be able to measure salt. Finally, cut that fat in with a pastry blender or 2 butter knives. It'll work. Your goal is something that looks like coarse cornmeal, so it might take a minute. Now add cold water, just a tablespoon or 2 at a time, until it barely sticks together. The fat to water ratio determines if your crust will be flaky or chewy. You can drop the fat to 1/4 cup and it will be a little bit more elastic and a little bit easier to roll out. I am making enough crust for the top and bottom of a traditional pie, which I would roll out to be nearly translucent, because the crostata needs a single, thicker crust that is larger in diameter than either the top or bottom of your pie. Now I'm going to roll this out. Always be generous with the flour. Always start in the center, rolling outwards in every possible direction. That will help your pie crust grow in a circular shape and have similar thickness throughout. You can actually use anything cylindrical to do this. I've used wine bottles more than once when visiting friends. You will get the trick of how to pick these up and handle them and flip them. I've tried to show here what it looks like, how you roll it up onto the pin and then use it to support the weight so it doesn't try to tear. Mine did try to tear a little bit right here because it stuck to the countertop. So when I lifted it, there's a small tear in the top. I'm going to go ahead and put out more flour and use a tiny bit of water to seal up that gap. Just a little bit of moisture and a little press with your fingers, seal it right up. Then we'll just put that on a cookie sheet. I like to use parchment paper because you'll see at the end, when I pull this off the cookie sheet, it makes my life a lot easier. Today I'm making an apple crostata. Apples are in season and I have a bunch of them. I find that crunchy fruits work best in a crostata. If you want to use a high moisture fruit like berries, there is some risk of a soggy bottom crust. They'll still taste great. You can either mix those berries with something crunchy. Raspberries and pear go together really well, for example. Or you can take those berries and dust them lightly with a little bit of flour or a little bit of cornstarch. That'll thicken any extra moisture that cooks out of the fruit and give you a nice gooey filling. You'll notice I'm not peeling the apples. You certainly can if you want to. I like the color and I don't mind the texture of a little bit of a soft peel baked in. But you can absolutely peel these if you want. The only trick is when you slice them into wedges, try to keep them about the same thickness so that they cook at the same time. Now, whatever fruit you pick, you want to arrange it on your pie crust in a roughly round or circular shape. Just wing it. I'm doing a circle of apples for this with some more apples to fill in the center. This is a really simple dessert. To dress it up and make it seem a little bit fancier, I'm going to add a dried fruit and a nut. I find this is a great recipe for dressing it up. Today, because I have apples, I've selected dried cranberries for a little bit of extra tartness, and walnuts for that slightly bitter crunch that they give. I do enjoy nuts in these. I'm just going to spread those around so they look nice and even, and every piece has a little bite of everything in it. Now I'm drizzling honey onto this for sweetness. You can also soften some jam or jelly or marmalade in the microwave, or you can use a sprinkle of white sugar or a sprinkle of brown sugar. It's whatever makes you happy. It is about half the amount of sweetness as in a pie, as I mentioned earlier, and then I'm going to add a dash of spices. I'm using cinnamon, but nutmeg would work well, apple pie spice, or ginger. Finally, wrap your fruit up. You don't completely cover the middle in a crostata, you just wrap it up and it covers part of the fruit. And then I'm going to tuck it in to help make sure it's nice and round and that the crust fits well. Finally, I'm checking. There's a couple places on the top where the folds were really thick and I want it to cook evenly, so I'm just balancing those out. Some people like to trim the edges even so it covers the same amount of fruit all the way around. I like the rustic look, so as far as I'm concerned, this is done. Now I just popped it in the oven. Use a moderate oven until the crust is lightly golden brown and the fruit is soft in the middle. You can bake these anywhere from 325 to 350, depending on what you've got going on in the oven. It'll take somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. When we let this cool, we cut and serve. These are great to serve with a little bit of custard or ice cream or whipped cream on top. I hope that you have a great time with your baking adventures. Enjoy!